Greater Phoenix. We can tell our story differently. A new perspective. A different look. Greater Phoenix A to Z.
All right. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when this finds you. Welcome to the Greater Phoenix A to Z podcast. I'm your host, Casey Gilchrist. Here at GPEC, we talk a lot about how Greater Phoenix is addressing climate action and sustainability goals, from water solutions and alternative energy generation and storage to other novel technologies. But today, I'm excited to focus on another aspect of sustainability essential to processing long-term goals in this space, and that is the reuse and regeneration of materials and products, or as we commonly call it, circular economy. So it's going to be a great conversation, and I have two guests joining me today to talk about how Greater Phoenix is moving on sustainability goals throughout these initiatives. So first, we have an alumnus of Parsons School of Design in New York City and Arizona State University School of Sustainability. She's also co-chair of the Waste and Circular Economy Issue Committee at Arizona Forward and Circular Economy Project Manager for the City of Phoenix. That's a mouthful, girl.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Amanda Jordan. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. Happy to be here.
Yeah, in my prep for you, I reached out to our friends at the City of Phoenix. I'm like, tell me something interesting about Amanda.
Oh, no.
And they're just like, we love her. Like, we
I'll
adore
take that.
her. And I'm like, no, I need like juice. Is there like a fun fact that I didn't mention in your intro that you can share with our audience? Like something, a little known fact about Amanda to catch you off guard.
Oh my gosh.
I have something that I can maybe mention, and we can cut it if you don't want me to mention it. But I heard your husband's a comedian?
Yes. Yeah, my husband's a stand-up comedian. He actually just left for Austin in Seattle this week, this morning, to go do some shows out there. So yeah, that is a fun fact. We've lived very different lives, very much a yin and yang coming together situation.
Yeah. What's it like to live with a comedian? I'm trying to decide if I should end up with a chef or a comedian for my life partner.
You know, both work long nights. And I feel like I would nudge you toward comedian because I hear that, you know, chefs, the dream is, oh, I'll have this great person who can cook all the time, but that's their job. They're not going to want to maybe cook for you. But a comedian, he's always, you know, talking about different jokes or telling different stories and like bouncing ideas off you, and never a dull moment.
Okay. So. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. I'll add that to my Hinge profile. All right. Our second expert is a female trailblazer who spent 25 years as a translator in the Arizona justice system before changing careers to co-found GlassKing Recovery and Recycling, along with her son, Blake. And in 2021, she kicked off the Don't Trash Glass campaign, a partnership with local bars and restaurants that increases access for glass recycling collection. Welcome to the show, Rose King.
Thank you, Casey. I'm so excited to be here.
Do you have a fun fact?
Oh, the fun fact about me. I used to barrel race.
Barrel race?
Yes.
What is this? Is this native to Arizona?
It is. It is. I actually grew up in a ranch in Mare, and my dad used to have ropings. And one of the things that I learned to do was barrel race. I haven't been on a horse in like 25 years, but that is a little tidbit about me.
What a badass. Badass. All right, Amanda, I know in addition to being married to a comedian, you have enamored me since the first day that I met you. And this is not me confessing my love to you. It's mostly your background. I find it so interesting.
Yes.
And I was a huge Project Runway fan. And so when I found out you went to the Parsons School of Design, I was like, what?
Yeah.
This is interesting. So what caused this pivot from Parsons to basically saving the world in Phoenix?
I know. I like to say I went from fashion to trash. So when I entered design school, I very much, you know, was into Project Runway, wanted to get into fashion PR. And then toward the end of my studies, Hurricane Sandy had hit in New York City area, tri-state area. And for an entire week, the island of Manhattan was shut down. And a majority of my friends lived in lower Manhattan, and I lived on Upper East Side, and they would have to trek all the way up there to shower and use power because they didn't have access to anything. And I felt that that was so jarring because it's New York City. Like, this shouldn't happen here. And I'd grown up here in the Phoenix area, in Tempe, and a lot of my friends had gone through school sustainability as some of the first cohorts, and they were doing all of this cool work that had design elements, but also the sustainability, saving the earth, all of those kind of things that personally I was interested in, but hadn't been pursuing professionally. And so, back in, when was that? 2014, I decided to make the move back here to Phoenix and got accepted into ASU's program. And so now in my current role, I get to kind of combine both worlds. Funnily enough, or maybe not, textile waste is one of the biggest problematic waste streams that we have today. And so I'm still kind of in that world, trying to find these solutions for fast fashion and textiles, and how do we really reuse these materials. It's been quite a journey. Very different career path.
I know. That's an awesome background. And Rose, I recently moved to Arizona, so that's why I asked, is this barrel racing native to Arizona? And I understand that you spent most of your life in Mayer, Arizona, before moving to Phoenix. What's the difference between Mayer and Phoenix? I know nothing about Mayer at all. And where is it in relation to Arizona for those who are new?
Sure. Mayer is about an hour and a half northwest of Phoenix.
Okay, gotcha.
It's a little bitty town. If you blink, you will miss it. I moved from Mayer, raised our kids in Prescott Valley.
Okay, I know Prescott.
And it's quite the area. It's still very much a small town, a hometown. And I love that in Arizona, you're literally an hour away from changing temperature.
Absolutely. Just to go up north, we went to Sedona for our company retreat, and it was just such a wonderful change from the triple teen heat that we were experiencing. And tell us kind of what inspired GlassKing.
Well, GlassKing actually happened from a phone call that I received from my son, Blake. He's the one that started GlassKing. And he was in college at the time, and he worked for a promotion company in Scottsdale, and they promoted the bars. And if you've ever visited Scottsdale, the bar and comedy club row, that's all they serve is alcohol and no food. And he could hear the glass being emptied every single night. Did some research and realized that not only do we not recycle glass in Arizona, we do a horrible job of recycling, period, in the nation. And that phone call was to let me know that he was going to go into glass recycling. And here we are.
Is there like a GlassKing? What inspired I know the King is your last name, but is there like a Glass Queen? And just so we can keep it.
I say I'm always the queen.
Yes, you are the queen of GlassKing.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
I guess what's been the biggest surprise for you since moving from the Prescott Mayer area to Greater Phoenix and starting a business in this region as well?
For us, it was the acceptance. From the moment we arrived in Phoenix, although there was the fear of the big city, it was very welcoming. And if you actually live in a city, you realize that you start having a community. Your neighbors, the specific grocery stores that you go to, and you don't want to drive a lot, so you stay close. If you have to drive and commute to work, you want to stay close. But moreover, it was the acceptance of our program. 2015, we just started a little bitty program of recovering glass, and within a year, that changed. So I think that was the biggest thing, the fear of coming from a small town and thinking that the big city is so scary. I think it's what you want to make of it.
Absolutely. And that's something that is commonly shared by business owners like yourself or business leaders who relocate their business to our region is you can come and have an immediate impact and find your sense of community. And I have found that just as a new person coming to Greater Phoenix is you can make friends quickly. No one's ever new. And we all know that struggle of coming here and trying to make a name for yourself. So people are eager to get behind you and rally, which is really important. So jumping a little bit into the topic of circular economy, when I came here, didn't really know what that term meant. So I kind of want to do a vocabulary lesson for our audience members who might not be familiar with what that term means. What comes to mind for you when you're using that term? Or what would you say is the definition?
Yeah, so whenever I'm speaking on this topic, the most simplistic way to think about it is our current economy is what's referred to as linear. So picture a line. We extract resources from the earth, create a product. Most products are tossed out within 20 minutes or less of use, and then quote unquote thrown away. And that's the end of kind of the ecosystem, where circular economy looks at how do you convert that line into a circle? So how are you using products at their highest and best value? How can you design for recyclability or reuse? Modularity is a big thing. So, carpet tiles was kind of one of the biggest examples of circular economy coming into the forefront in more of a corporate setting. Instead of ripping out your entire carpet because one piece has some wear and tear, now you can just remove that one square. And so designing with that intent for your products to do that. And so that's kind of, I guess, my quick vocab lesson on circular economy.
Good to know. And then how is that different from sustainability?
Yes. So sustainability is sort of the big umbrella that everything lives under. And then circularity is a pillar under that umbrella. So sustainability often brings up connotations of maybe more academia, research, understanding, and studying how humans are interacting with the environment and what we can do to better steward our planet. And then circular economy takes those same concepts and applies an economic development or business lens. So how can we still, launch businesses like a GlassKing and support growth and development of an economy without hurting the environment? And so this pathway is sort of a way to reconcile both worlds and not have to completely, shut down, go off the grid and change your way of life.
Yeah. And one more vocab word in this quiz that I'm giving you. How does clean or green tech fit into this? I think of circular economy kind of as a process, maybe?
Yeah, so clean and green tech is often the mechanism to support the transition, right? You need that tech to gather the data to understand. So for example, City of Phoenix, we maintain ownership of our facilities, and so we get to track a lot of the data in ways that other cities can't. And so having different technology such as, AI or cameras where we can actually see what's coming down the line and scan it, and you don't have to have that manpower where you shut the whole system down for 8 hours to pull materials off. And so in my world, that's where a lot of technology comes into play, is how can you use these AI and robotics to streamline the process.
Thank you for the vocab lesson for us all that might not be familiar. And Rose, in your day-to-day, do you use the word circular economy when you're going out and marketing GlassKing?
I do.
In the same way, or do you talk about it differently for someone who might not?
I do. I talk about it a little differently, very much like Amanda explained the linear and circular economy that we're used to. For us in the glass world, and I believe that the future of sustainability is with what we do, and we have to loop. So in our world, it's very important that we understand from the start, from the consumer to the end of life, what happens to that glass product. And in order for us to have a successful diversion program, we have to loop with our customers, our vendors, everyone that's in our village. And that loop is so important because the middle's transparency. and accountability. And in the world of recycling, it's what we lack.
Okay. Can you expand upon that?
Absolutely. First of all, just to give your members just a little education, but we in the United States, we average around 32% when we recycle. So we're going to talk specifically of the efforts of the blue bin. And here in Arizona, our efforts are around 15%.
Oh, wow.
We're really low. So that means that 15% of our efforts of that blue bin, because of the lack of education, the lack of universal planning, the fact that we believe that the cities and the states and the municipalities are in control somehow of our waste and our recycling and our sustainability is just false. It's really a personal responsibility, what we do. And for us, it's educating and talking about a real serious problem. And if we can talk about it, address it, and create solutions together, that's how circularity is going to work. That's how we're going to get to a looped economy. Because if we look at the basic ideas of circularity, it's to impact us socially, economically, and environmentally. How are we going to do that? We have to do it with a personal impact. So for us, for GlassKing, when we start a program, that's what it's about. It's about meeting that establishment, meeting everyone, asking what, why, and how, what we do, why we do it, how we do it. And once people understand that glass can be infinitely recycled, we as a program can track it from the moment you consume it to the end of life infinitely through our transparent and accountable loop. That's the future.
Absolutely.
Those are the conversations we need to start having.
Absolutely. And Amanda, the city of Phoenix is kind of distinguishing itself nationally as a city that's committed to sustainability. I mean, you are probably, I think you've told me before, your title is only one of two, maybe? Or...
There's less than 10 of us in the U.S. who have this kind of title in like a local government capacity. And even Biden administration just recently created the Senior Director of Chemical and Plastic Pollution Prevention, which is a sign of this kind of escalating, being elevated to the highest levels of our government, understanding that waste is a problem and we need to figure out how to prevent it and mitigate it and improve what we're doing and how we create our products and services. So.
Yeah. And can you talk about kind of some of the programs that are putting that national lens on the city of Phoenix and how you're becoming a leader?
Yeah. So Phoenix, we've been in the space of transitioning to circular economy for over a decade now.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of kicked off our efforts back in 2011-ish under former Mayor Stanton, now Congressman Stanton, through what was known as the Reimagine Phoenix Initiative. And so essentially, the city had commissioned Arizona State University to do a couple key studies. The biggest ones, first was greenhouse gas emission inventory, so assessing who's releasing the most GHGs in Metro Phoenix, both from a business and community level, and then also a waste characterization assessment. And we found out that the public works trucks that were transporting waste from our transfer stations out to our landfill, which is in Buckeye, which for those not familiar, that's 60 plus miles, an hour and a half one way. And these trucks make probably 5 or 6 trips a day.
Oh, wow.
So pretty hefty and a huge GHG emitter. And on top of that, most of what we're putting in our landfill is recyclable commodities that could be reused, such as glass or aluminum or even different types of plastics. And so from there, it just kind of exploded, so to speak. And so Reimagine Phoenix was all about diverting 40% of our waste away from landfill by 2020. Phoenix got very close before, COVID and everything kind of came in and froze the world, as we all saw. And so right now we hover at 36%, which, as Rose mentioned, 32% is the national average. So Phoenix as an individual city is doing fairly well. And we do, collaborate with the other cities in Metro Phoenix to help process their recyclables. So I would say we're working toward making sure everyone's getting past that 15%. But yeah, it's been quite a journey. And today, you know, a lot of the things that I'm engaging in on behalf of the city is very much around plastics. That's still top of mind. Textiles is another big thing. E-waste, you know, we have all of the EV industry, you know, setting up shop out here in Greater Phoenix. And so a lot of questions on how do we recycle these lithium ion batteries or solar panels. A lot of the original ones are coming to end of life. And the only company, I want to say, in the state of Arizona, perhaps in our region, the Southwest region, is in Yuma. We recycle solar. And
there will be a breaking announcement on solar recycling later this year. I'll say that.
Okay. So yeah, we're seeing, you know, a lot of preparing for what's to come in terms of the different waste streams, but also how do we engage and provide insights to private sector. So we are one of the founding activators of the U.S. Plastics Pact, which is a consortium of over 200 public and private sector entities trying to design plastic packaging to be recyclable or compostable. And so being engaged in those conversations, being able to say, sure, you could change from this plastic to this plastic, but when you bring it to our material recovery facility, our recycling facility, it's going to end up sorted this way and become a contaminant. So it's a way to sort of close the loop, pun intended, on the dialogue that's not happening at each end of the supply chain, which has been also a big problem when trying to be sustainable. So.
Yeah. And I have another question I'm going to try to hold in my brain that we can come back to it, but convincing decision makers on the importance of this is like education, for example. How would you advise communities that want to be a Phoenix, you know, in their future? How would you advise them to begin the dialogue with decision makers who do need to rule in favor of programs to be established?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, here in Arizona, we have often a tense political climate. Everything we do has to be voluntary. So participation in our recycling program is entirely voluntary. Someone could call us and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. Give me 2 trash bins, and they'd be entitled to do that. So everything we do is a means to educate on how do you get things going when you don't have those policy levers, like say the state of California next door. Honestly, if you're a business owner like Rose, and Rose has been engaged in the committee in Arizona Forward with us, you know, coming together, reaching out to your legislators, finding time to meet with them, even 5-10 minutes, and say, hey, I'm a business owner. I need this glass, but I'm not able to get it because XYZ cities can't recycle it in their program. How can you help me? And just bringing, you know, just calling, emailing really works in this case. And we've seen that at the state level. Arizona Department of Environmental Quality is preparing to reestablish their recycling grant program, which hasn't been active since 2008. And a lot of that came from, you know, the work we were doing in Arizona Forward. Each of the different members in the committee put forth pilot project proposals, letters of support, budgets, sort of looking at if we got even $200K from this fund, here's all of the amazing impact we could have in 1 year. And it worked because the program's coming back. I think April of next year we'll be opening up to receive applications. And so that was completely driven by the business owners who engaged in our committee and went over to the legislature and handed in the packet in person and chatted with them for 5 minutes and just got on their radar. So
leveraging your community, leveraging the business community, because they can speak to the legislators on your behalf or the decision makers. And Rose, how has it sounds as though you've been a great supporter of the city of Phoenix, but how has Phoenix kind of supported your growth as you've begun your business?
The collaborations, the invitations, the memberships that have been extended to GlassKing has made a tremendous difference. I believe that the city of Phoenix, Arizona Forward, the Recycling Coalition, many organizations know that We are here to make an impact, to educate what diversion really means, what that impact is going to signify for all of us, but moreover, how that happens. And it takes a village. You were talking about how we get to the stakeholders, to the people that make the decisions. We educate them. We show them that they are making a decision with us, that it's just not the city with private and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. Because in the past when that's happened, the expectations are lopsided and there's very little solution making, just a lot of talking. And I believe the difference now, and especially with Amanda, has been that the communication's effective and we really work on solutions instead of just talk about it.
Yeah, you put a plan in place. And as somebody who's not in this day-to-day, I can imagine the logistics of your business have to be quite cumbersome. Can you kind of talk about some of the challenges you might have faced and just even arranging collection for glass and incorporating it back into your recycling process? Like what challenges have you faced and how have you overcome them as a business owner?
Sure. Two of the challenges are, one is distance, second is contamination.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Distance, Arizona is a vast state. We talk a lot about hub and spoke, which what we've done for the past almost 10 years is that the city of Phoenix has been our hub and the rest of the cities are our spoke. Contamination is something that we talk about a lot because it's how we help educate and talk about why recycling works and doesn't. For us, bags, trash bags, ceramic plates, and food contaminates our glass. It makes it where it has to be processed more to eliminate all of those products. Ceramic and glass, although it may look like glass, it's a completely different chemistry.
Oh, interesting.
It does not melt like glass. So when we educate and we talk about those contaminations, we always get the infamous question, well, I thought I was recycling glass because it goes into my recycle bin. And then I have the opportunity to talk about how glass, although is 100% recyclable, the way it's actually combined in what we call a single stream commodity, which means all the recyclables are mixed in that blue bin. That glass, by the time it gets to the material recovery facility that Amanda was talking about, it's so tiny. It's embedded into the cardboard. It's embedded into the plastics. And it makes those recyclables very difficult to recycle.
Okay.
We can take the glass out. The rest of those recyclables have a lot of hope.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we educate.
What would be the proper way to collect your glass?
It's separated. So at our facilities, our establishments, first of all, we call our customers sustainable partners. And we have a hospitality program called Don't Trash Glass. It's for bars, restaurants, hotels, casinos that create a lot of glass. We provide them with all the resources to succeed: Slim Jims, bar tubs, roll carts, and then an outside bulk container. So it's separate from the waste stream. It's separate from the single stream recycling bin. And that's how you collect glass. Actually, I will tell anybody, but if we want to have a diversion program that's going to be successful, we need a lot of blue bins separated at the source. That's the goals.
How would, so you're only partnering with restaurants and bars at this stage? Is there a goal to partner with perhaps like an office user or complexes in the future? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I know GPEC we're very sustainable focused. And so if there's a way that we could participate in giving you our glass, I'm sure that would be of interest.
Oh, I would love that. Yes. And what we do, part of our program is that we give you the metrics.
Okay.
So you know what you're diverting. And it's pretty incredible how much we can divert. But just to give you an example, our containers are 4 foot by 4 foot.
Okay.
They hold around 1,000 pounds. That's around 2,000 beer bottles, around 1,300 wine or spirit bottles. That's what we're keeping out of our landfill every time we recover a container. Mm-hmm. And it's establishments that you're going to visit anyway. Mm-hmm. We all like to go to lunch or to dinner or have a nice, stay vacation at one of these wonderful resorts, hit a casino once in a while. All of that. Can you imagine socially we're making an impact?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. Mm-hmm. And not only that, it helps our sustainable partners reduce their waste cost, keep glass in a safe manner, discard it, it's not in bags, and really track their efforts. Mm-hmm. Once they track their efforts and they see what they're doing, and they've kept over 500 tons out of the landfill, like the Phoenician has. Mm-hmm. It gives me goosebumps that we can do that. Can you imagine if we all did it together?
I know we're very metric focused here at GPEC. I think we would love to see on our efforts in numbers. All right. I feel like I could sit here and talk to you all for a very long time, but I do think I have a closing question for you both. So for Amanda, what do you envision for the future of the circular economy in Phoenix, and how will this industry evolve and shape adjacent industries?
Ooh, good question. I mean, I think looking into the future, circular economy in my mind is most successful when it can be hyper localized. Mm-hmm. So you're taking the waste generated locally, working with local businesses who convert that waste into products, and those products are sold to your community members, and everything stays local. You're reducing GHG emissions from transportation or what have you. And then on top of that, I think, some of the missing elements from circular economy early on has been, equity and inclusion. So how do you start to address the fact that, the transfer station or the landfill is in a backyard of an underserved community or perhaps lower income, and how do you empower them to engage in the circular economy? So right now we're preparing to launch a new pilot project with the same folks at ASU have been working with over the past decade around a BIPOC cooperative business model. So how do you work with Black, Indigenous people of color who maybe never thought that entrepreneurship was a pathway for them, get them into this program, educate them on how to start a business, finances, communication, all of that stuff, and then empower them to be the problem solver of this waste issue that's been perhaps plaguing their community. And then they get to be involved in the decision making and are engaged in a way that maybe they haven't been in the past. And so I think sometimes in the world of sustainability, we get so focused on the solutions that we forget about perhaps the people element sometimes. And so I think that that's where I'm seeing a lot of the change come into play is okay, we figured out from this business lens, but what about the people? What about the health of our of humanity and of the environment paired with business? And so at the City of Phoenix, we're very much looking at how do we create a localized, inclusive circular economy.
Yeah, and I think we didn't even touch on the RIC campus, which people can go and find information on that. Maybe we can do a separate podcast on that, just that initiative. It's fascinating, and I brag about it all the time. We'll leave a link in the description or something for people to take a look. But can you give maybe a 30-second tidbit about RIC and what it is? Yeah,
so RIC is our Resource Innovation Campus. It is our circular economy business park that we are developing. We're actually almost at the end of our request for proposal process. So by late October, we'll be announcing who's been awarded the opportunity to develop the campus, which is super exciting. It's 40 acres of land co-located next to our Southern Transfer Station, Material Recovery Facility, and Compost Facility. And that is very intentional because we want the businesses on site to be able to pop over to one of those facilities, take a bale of plastics, glass, or what have you, and do R&D testing, pilot testing, have free raw manufacturing feedstock if they are an early stage business needing some help to get off the ground. And because we maintain ownership, we have a really unique opportunity to innovate in that sense. And so, yeah, super exciting.
I'm excited. I cannot wait to go global with that facility because there's so many amazing companies, not only here in Arizona, but abroad that are doing really fascinating things with waste, and to bring them here and to teach us kind of what they're doing is going to be so exciting. And Rose, for you, what advice would you tell scaling companies or growing companies like yourself, and why should they move to our region, especially if they're in the industry that you're in the circular economy space?
I would tell anyone that that has a mission, especially a sustainable mission, to stay steadfast. It's not an easy industry to get in. In fact, the first few years that we started GlassKing, I didn't realize recycling was such an uphill battle. We made it our mission to be a part of that change. That's why it's so important to partner with your city, be part of those sustainable organizations, go to speaking events where you can network and take part with like-minded people. But moreover, I never hear no. I only hear a delayed yes. So don't be scared of that no. No for me charges me. Like, oh, I'll be back.
You have to have that spirit to be an entrepreneur. So
You have to. And every day, good, bad, or ugly, enjoy it, learn from it, and just thank God every single day that we do what we do. I worked in the court system for over 25 years, and I loved it. And I believe I made an impact. But in the world that I work in today, I'm so grateful. I work side by side with my son, with my family. And we can honestly say that we make a difference every single day. For us, that's everything. So for those people that want to come to beautiful Arizona, for anyone that wants to do anything sustainable, please join us. We need so many of you.
I love that. And where can people get in touch with you if they're interested to connect?
Please visit us at www.glasskingrecycling.com. And all that information is there. And you can certainly call us, email us, follow us.
Wonderful. And Amanda, what about you?
Oh, yeah. So phoenix.gov/public works or /community economic development. I do sit in both departments. And I don't really have any personal stuff.
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn.
I know you're active on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Just one more thing. I want a shout out to the Glass Packaging Institute.
Okay.
My buddy Scott DeFive out there. We're doing the work together every day. So it's really important that, again, all of us that are involved just really stay focused on the message and help each other send that message.
I love a good shout out. It's great. Well, thank you all for joining us today for today's show. We will be back again with another episode of the Greater Phoenix A to Z podcast soon. So there is a full list of shows that we are prepping that you won't want to miss, including Phoenix food, music, fashion, and a special Halloween episode that Tim is running with. So stay tuned for that. Do me and our guests a favor and be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. Also, if you're ever so inclined, please rate us 5 stars and leave a comment. To keep up with what's happening in Greater Phoenix, follow GPEC at Greater PHX on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So until next time, be safe and well. Cheers.